Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Please subscribe my channel. The scent of gardenias hung in the air, thick and sweet as spun sugar. Ilara stood before the full-length mirror, not as a bride admiring her gown, but as a general surveying a battlefield. The ivory satin, which had looked so delicate on the hanger, now felt like a suit of armor. Each pearl sewn into the bodice was a tiny, hard-won victory. "Breathe, Ellie," her sister, Maeve, murmured from the doorway, her voice a soft counterpoint to the frantic symphony in Yalara's mind. "Just breathe." Alara obeyed, the simple act feeling revolutionary. The dress, which she had stubbornly insisted on having tailored to her own real body, and not some idealized version of it, tightened and then released with her. It was a testament to a journey not just of inches lost, but of a spirit found. "It's perfect," Maeve said, coming to stand behind her. Her reflection was a warmer, softer echo of Alara's own determined face. "He's going to lose his mind when he sees you. He's seen me in sweatpants covered in pizza sauce. This is just formalities." But they both knew it was more than that. The dress was a symbol. For so long, Alara had felt herself unfolding, slowly and painfully, from a cocoon of her own making. A cocoon of self-doubt, of hiding, of believing that a life like the one she was about to step into was meant for other people. People who fit into smaller sizes, who had easier stories. Maeve's hand found hers, their fingers lacing together. "Remember the great cake debacle of last month?" she asked, her eyes twinkling. A genuine laugh escaped Alara. How could she forget? She had decided to bake their wedding cake herself, a towering, four-tiered monstrosity of vanilla bean and raspberry filling. It had ended with buttercream on the ceiling, flour in her hair, and both of them sitting on the kitchen floor, weeping with laughter as the final layer slid, slowly, tragically, onto the linoleum. That's when I knew. When I was a mess, and you were a mess, and the cake was a disaster, and Leo walked in, he didn't see the mess. He just saw us. He laughed until he cried, and then he got a spoon and said, "Well, it still tastes like a victory." That was Leo. He didn't see the before and after. He only saw the during. He saw the woman who was stubborn enough to bake her own cake, strong enough to change her life, and soft enough to cry when it fell apart. The wedding wasn't in a grand cathedral or a manicured vineyard. It was in the sprawling, slightly overgrown backyard of the house they had bought together, the one with the porch she'd always wanted. As the afternoon light bled into a soft, golden evening, Alara walked towards him not on an aisle of rose petals, but on a path of flagstones they had laid themselves last summer. Their guests were in a sea of anonymous faces, but a patchwork quilt of their lives. Friends from the support group where they'd met, their shared nervous laughter forging an instant bond. Family, with all its beautiful, complicated history. Maeve stood as her matron of honor, a solid, steady presence, her smile saying everything her words could not. And Leo. He stood under the arbor they'd built, his simple suit looking a little too new, his hands clasped tightly in front of him. When he saw her, his carefully composed composure shattered. His breath hitched, and his eyes, wide with wonder, filled with tears. In that moment, he wasn't just seeing a bride in a beautiful dress. He was seeing the culmination of 1,000 shared struggles and 1,000,000 shared laughs. He was seeing his future. He didn't wait for her to reach him fully. He took 2 long strides and met her halfway, his hands reaching for hers. "You're here," he whispered, his thumb stroking her knuckles. "I've always been here," she whispered back. "I was just learning how to be." The officiant began to speak, but the words were distant hum. Alara was lost in the map of Leo's face, in the promise she saw there. This wasn't an ending or a beginning. It was a continuation, a promise to keep unfolding together, to have more cake disasters and porch swing sunsets, to face whatever life threw at them with the same grit and grace that had brought them to this very spot. When he kissed her, it was not a chaste ceremonial peck. It was a seal on their pact. A deep, heartfelt kiss that tasted of gardenias, hope, and the sweet, undeniable flavor of a hard-won victory. The small crowd erupted in cheers, but all Alara heard was the sound of her own heart, finally, completely, and irrevocably at home.